Hey guys, welcome back to Female Founder World. I'm the host of the pod, Jasmine Garnsworthy, and we have a bit of a different conversation today. It is with the founder of Inner Workout. Her name is Taylor Elyse Morrison. And in this podcast, yes, we talk about how she's building her business, but because her business is centered on self-care, we also get into a few of the practices and the system that she has in place to support herself as she's building her business. So I think you guys will really love this episode. Let's get into it. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's dive into a little bit of an intro into what you are creating at the Inner Workout. Could you tell folks who aren't familiar with what you're doing what it's all about?
Yeah, I like to say that we're building your self-care support system. So the way that I talk about self-care and that Inner Workout talks about self-care is listening within and responding in the most loving way possible. So we build products and experiences and community that helps you listen to yourself and find those loving responses.
In a really practical sense, if somebody went to your website and they wanted to buy something, what kind of things would they be buying?
Yeah. So we talk about these 5 dimensions of well-being that are rooted in yogic philosophy, and everything at Inner Workout really maps back to those. So we have products that map to one of those dimensions of well-being: physical, energetic, mental and emotional, wisdom, or bliss. You could buy a seat at one of our workshops. We're hoping, fingers crossed, to be able to have an in-person retreat later this week. That is wishful thinking as I look out at the snow outside my window, wishing I could retreat to somewhere warm. Later this year, we're hoping to have a retreat. And then we have our community, the Inner Working Group Chat, that you can join for $11 a month and hang out with us.
I want to dive into all of those things, how you're creating that. But first, how did you get into this kind of work? What's your story?
Really out of necessity. So I've always been kind of a go-getter and a high achiever. And I was working at a startup. I was doing a brand strategy side hustle. I was volunteering for multiple nonprofits. I just gotten married, and I just kept finding myself getting burned out. And the way that we traditionally talk about self-care as a society is kind of like, okay, you're burned out, like go get a massage, go take a weekend off.
Go do the self-care now. Go fix it. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was like, that's not working though. If I just take an afternoon off, that doesn't negate everything else that is going on in my life and creating this state of burnout. And so for me, it really started with taking Sunday night baths. And then from there, I started thinking, okay, how can I integrate the feeling that I get from Sunday night baths into the rest of my life?
I also do the Sunday night bath thing. And I definitely find this is going to turn into like a therapy session now, but I definitely find that, Monday to Thursday, I don't really think about anything except I'm like looking at a screen all the time. I don't really think about anything else except for like what I'm building, the business, like emails. It's pretty constant. And I definitely, I feel like there are seasons in your life where you're kind of like leaning into work a little more or like leaning into certain commitments a little more. How have you found that balance for yourself now? Because, you are a female founder. I'm sure that building a business, it takes a lot of work and a lot of hours and a lot of commitment. But how do you like live the mission while also being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I come back to this a lot, and I have a book coming out next year. And
Oh, amazing. Congratulations.
thank you. And the reason I bring that up is because as I was writing the book, which was this, I've never written a book before, and I'm running a business while I'm writing this book about self care. And the whole time I was like, I want to be embodying what I'm writing about as I'm writing. And so I've just been really sitting in this tension for the past several months. And it comes back to a few things. I think one, for me, part of why I'm a founder is that I want to build a company that I want to work for. I want to build the world I want to live in. And so it's a lot of questioning, like, does it have to be this way? When I worked a full-time job, it was this way. I see other companies doing it this way, but like I 100% can take a nap in the middle of the day if I want. Conversely, like sometimes I wake up and I'm genuinely so excited to work. That happened today. So I just sat down on my computer and I started working. And then later on, I took a break to walk the dog and then I showered before I got on a call with you. So it's questioning those rules or those norms that I've just assumed to be true, both on the side of resting, but also on what work can look like. I think that's one of the bigger things, and having people in my life who hold me accountable, who check in on me, who ask me how I'm doing and then ask me again if I am keeping it too surface level. So I'd say community is a big part of that as well. But yeah, I just always come back to like, what do I want my job to be? What do I want the experience of this company to be?
I love what you just said, building a company that you want to work for. I just think that, you're out there, if you're out there creating your own business, you've really got this opportunity where you can kind of design your life. And that's not to say that it's not difficult or a lot of hours, but you have this opportunity to kind of create something that works for you. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah. And it took me a long time to get there. Like when I first quit my full-time job, I was like still working, trying to start working at 8 a.m. on the dot as if I was like clocking in for someone else. And it took me months to realize I could do something different.
Yes. Oh my God. I struggle with this so much. I'm definitely someone who I really beat myself up about like not being at my desk at 8:30 in the morning, but I work late. I always work late and I like having mornings that are slow. I like walking to get my coffee, maybe doing a little bit of exercise or going for a walk and having a little bit of a sleep in. And then I don't know why, it's just from, 15 years of existing within normal, like, corporate culture. I feel immense guilt about not being the kind of person who's, like, up and dressed and face of makeup and, like, my suit on, sitting at my desk when it doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly. And it's like, that's not why, at least for me, I'll speak from the I, that's not why I went into business to perpetuate what already exists. I'm super excited about building new things and different things.
What does your team look like? Is it just you? Do you have part-time, full-time staff? Are you working with consultants? Like, how are you kind of organizing that piece of things at the moment?
Yeah, we're a super small team. So I'm the only full time person. I have a part time content lead who really manages most of the process for our podcast and loves our Instagram community and like manages all of that. And I'm obsessed with her. Her name's Paris, and she just does such a good job of creating community on our Instagram. And then I have a part time assistant, Diana, who helps me with scheduling, helps me with some of the admin tasks behind the scenes, and in some ways is an accountability partner for me. Like, oh, you didn't answer that email. It's been sitting in your inbox for a bit, like those types of things.
Is everyone remote?
So Paris and I both live in Chicago, but we work remotely. We actually just saw each other yesterday for the first time in like 2 years, which is wild because we don't live far from each other. Yeah.
That's so weird. I'm finding this now when I'm doing the podcast and I'll jump on a call and I'll be like, "Oh, where are you based?" And like, "Oh, I'm in Williamsburg." And they're 4 minutes down the road from me. And we've jumped on Zoom. I'm like, "You could have come over. Like, I've got microphones. We could have recorded this in person. I just don't even go there now. Like, I don't even think of that."
Yeah, it's wild how much has changed in the past couple of years.
Such wild times. I want to talk about the transition from corporate life into what you're doing now. First of all, what was that like real like kick to get you to start this? And second, how did you find that transition of losing all of that structure? Did you immediately love it or did it take you a while to kind of find a routine or find a rhythm that worked?
I love talking about this. So I started my career. I've had kind of a winding career. I started in corporate in a leadership development program doing like employee culture and kind of org development consulting. Then I joined a startup as their first full time employee. And then I went back to the organization I was at before and worked at their startup in culture. The last role really kind of was the kick in the pants. I've always known that I wanted to work for myself. I married my high school sweetheart and I told him like if I'm 30 and I'm still working for someone else, I just want you to make me quit. He doesn't remember this, but I like vividly remember this, which is funny because he normally has the better memory. But when I went back to that role at the kind of corporate startup, it still felt so corporate for me and so suffocating and so like political is the word that's coming to mind, where you're having to position this so that you can get the right buy-in. And I'm like, I just want to build stuff on my own. So basically what happened is I co-led this women's retreat, and it was just so on my mind, this idea of quitting. And I wrote down these criteria of the things that needed to happen in order for me to quit. I was like, I need to have a certain amount of money in savings. I need to have a part-time job so I have a certain level of stability in income. And I always forget what the third one was. And then I looked at my savings accounts. We had that amount of money. Now I would actually double or triple that amount of money, but we had the amount of money that I stated in my little journaling prompt.
And just to interrupt you for a second, like, you don't have to tell me the amount of money that it is, but like, is it 2 months salary, 1 month salary, 6 months salary? Like, what do you think people should have there as a buffer?
So I think what it ended up being, and this is also because I had a part-time job, so I knew I'd have a certain amount of money coming in. So I think it was really only a little over 1 month salary, but I knew that I'd have enough to like pay the mortgage, pay the basic bills, and that would be kind of like the extra buffer. Now I would say like probably have 3 to 6 months, depending on what you have going on. The part-time job that I got was taught me actually a lot about the type of business I don't want to build, but it was really nice. It just kind of dropped in my lap. I was meeting with someone who I thought was going to be a mentor, and they were like, "Hey, you aren't loving your job right now. I have this business, like I can use your skills here." And so I got to come in and play and develop a lot of skills that have ended up being useful in the business. So, to talk about transitioning, I've had a rather slow transition. And at first, I felt bad about it. And now I think I'm really proud of how I took that approach because it's what worked for me. And the reason I love speaking about this is because I think a lot as what we see glamorized in the media, it's like you go all in, you quit your job, you just leap. And that's not accessible to everyone. And I think for a lot of us, the measured approach is more accessible and safe. Everyone's their own best expert. So you ultimately do what feels best with you in your intuition. But for me, knowing that I had this set amount of hours was so useful. And I felt like I had room to play. And then even when I left that part-time job, and to this day, I do some contract facilitation with Google and with Franklin Covey. And it makes me a much better facilitator, especially the work that I do with Google. It's like challenging me to grow so much. I learn how to like better build workshops, and it's Google. Like it's a great name to have on your resume. And so I think it's good to kind of ease into it and don't feel bad if there's still some other. I know lots of founders who still will like occasionally consult with the company that they left, or will they have this D2C business, but they do some consulting on Klaviyo or however you pronounce that because they're really good at email marketing. Like if you're bootstrapping, it's likely that you're going to have a couple of different income streams because you're your own investor.
Absolutely. And you know what? Even if you've raised money, I just got off a call with someone who is building a beverage company, and they've raised some money, and she's gone 3 years without a salary now. And her husband works outside of the business. So he pays for like a lot of their life while she is building this thing that, hopefully will have this big payoff in the end. And she said she's just started taking a salary, and that's so that she can cover childcare while she's working. And that's what that covers, which is like crazy. So I speak with a lot of founders of companies that you would think are like really big, they're well known, who are still doing consulting work as well on the side.
Yeah. I so appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Like starting a business is not a cash cow. It takes time. Hey, it's Jasmine, and I'm jumping in to interrupt this episode so that I can invite you to an event in New York City. This is our first in-person event. It's taking place on April 7th at 6 p.m. And it's free. We're hosting this in partnership with Shopify, and it is going to be the ultimate evening curated especially for consumer brand founders or really anyone who's entrepreneurial minded and interested in the consumer brand space. I absolutely welcome you and would love, love, love to meet you on the night. There's going to be a structured networking event so that you can meet your people, find other people building amazing businesses without any of the awkwardness. Then we're moving into a panel conversation, and I cannot wait to announce the speakers that we have on the panel. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned for that detail. We're also going to have free food and free drinks available all throughout the evening, provided by your favorite woman-owned companies. You have heard from a lot of the founders of those brands on this podcast, so it's going to be awesome for you to try them in person. And this is a totally free event, but you do need to register because numbers are limited. Head to our Instagram account at Female Founder World, hit the link in our bio and sign yourself up. I cannot wait to see you there. How did the Google gig come about?
Really, this is another relevant thing through the power of like networking with other women. Someone posted about it. I was like, oh, hey, I facilitated in past roles. I never realized that it was a skill set that I could get paid for. And I talked to her about it and she put my name in, and the rest is kind of history. I've been working with them for a couple of years. And for me, I really like it because facilitation is something that, like, yes, takes work, but the contracts that I have, I can choose the days that I work on. I can say yes or no. And it's like you're on, you're doing some prep, and then you're off. So it's not an ongoing thing where I'm constantly pulled in different directions.
For people who aren't familiar with this kind of work, what is a facilitator and what is that skill set?
Yeah, a facilitator is someone, the quote that we sometimes talk about is a facilitator isn't the smartest person in the room. Their role is to unlock the smartest thinking in the room. So we have a topic that we're here to talk about. And yes, there are some key points that we'll want you to get out of it, but the role of a facilitator is to really create space and psychological safety so that you can come to those learnings yourself and start to make connections and hopefully apply them out. So I see a lot of parallels between coaching and facilitation, but facilitation has a slightly more like teachery bent to it than coaching.
Let's talk about community now and the community that you're building at Inner Workout. First of all, where is that community hosted? I know you have your like Instagram following, but it sounds like you might also have a group chat as well. How is that all playing out?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a journey. We first had a free community on Mighty Networks, which I still think for a lot of people, that's a great platform. It's woman founded as well. For me, energetically, having it as a free community just wasn't working anymore. I find that I'm a person who, once I'm in community with people, I just want to give so much. And it was feeling like, okay, this isn't a fair exchange. It's not sustainable on my end. So we paused that for a little bit. And this will be launching as of recording next week, Wednesday. So depending on when this comes out, I'm guessing it'll be in the world already. And we're hosting it on Geneva, which I'm really excited about.
We love Geneva.
Yeah,
Geneva's awesome.
it's so cute and it's privacy friendly.
Yeah, it's so cute. It's Gen Z Slack, everyone. That's what Geneva is. So user friendly. Everything's like really clean. I also had been like playing in Mighty Networks, and I found Mighty Networks like a lot clunkier and harder to navigate. Whereas I feel like Geneva is really clean. And also you can like see other people in other communities. It has a much more like social element. I really like it.
Yeah, it just feels like a breath of fresh air when you walk in. Like you said, it's so clean. The branding is super cute and you just want to come in and chat with folks.
Did you build out home? I think Geneva calls them homes when you like create that. Did you build that out yourself? Do you have anyone consult with you on that?
I did, and I will say that the great thing about Geneva is there's so many free communities on there. And so I also just searched. I had been a part of other Geneva homes before I created my own, so I could see like how did they structure theirs. And like, what are the ones that people seem to be posted in? So shout out to, I forget what they call their home.
Inner Cycle.
Yes, Inner Cycle. I
Mhm.
love the conversations that happen there. And as someone who is obsessed with my menstrual cycle, it's like, these are my people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. She is a really gifted community builder.
I yeah, I feel like even though she's younger than me, she's like a virtual mentor. I just love seeing the way that she goes about building her business.
Okay, awesome. That's so interesting that you're building the Geneva home. And so you will have like, will you host programming in there? Like what are your ideas around how you're going to, I guess, like prompt conversation in that space?
Yeah. So there are different homes or different spaces for the different types of conversation we want to have. So within our self-care support system, we have these three pillars of practices like the Sunday night baths we both love, products that can support your self-care experience, and then partners, people like coaches, mentors, massage therapists who can really help you further your self-care. So there's spaces to talk about that. There's spaces where every week if you want to like get some accountability on something you're interested in doing, there's spaces for celebrating your wins, and they don't have to be huge wins. Like it can be tiny things like, I remembered to drink a full glass of water today. So those are some of the things that are there. And then there's also a couple of monthly events. We have our inner co-working, which is like co-working, but for self-care. So you can actually put self-care in your calendar. And then we have this audio room we open up and we all like, a lot of times I take my baths during our inner co-working, but people read books.
Love that.
It's so fun. And then we have pep talks, which are I like give a little talk on a topic and then we'll do hot seat coaching for one person and everyone kind of gets to learn from what comes up during their session. We also give recommendations to me and Paris screen our favorite things to watch and listen to and products that we're using.
How are you thinking about kind of when you launch that, getting those first users on board?
So we already have a wait list. So we've been talking, teasing it for a little bit. So we'll be sending it out to those waitlist people first. We've been doing inner co-working for free for several months. And so people are kind of used to the cadence of that. So hopefully a lot of the people, once they see that it's now in this new home, will be like, oh, I'm gonna miss that. It's worth it for me to come over. A thing that I will add is I'm obsessed with talking to your customers, customer discovery, all of those things. In what we saw, we do an annual survey that goes out in January. And a lot of what we saw that people wanted was they wanted more regular events. They liked inner co-working and they're like, we also want to see people regularly. That's part of why we designed pep talks. People asked us for a community. So we built in a lot of the things that people already wanted, plus members of the community get secret sales and discounts. So it's like, here's everything you asked us for in this community at a really affordable price. We're serving it up to you.
Good luck. I hope that goes really well for you. I'm going to have to check it out. The last question that I ask everyone who comes on the show is just for a resource. And that could be a book, a podcast you listen to, something that's kind of helped you along as you've been building your business.
This is such a good question. And there's a million that I love. And I had one that I was going to use, but then I was like, do I want to use that one? I guess I'll recommend this book. I just read Be by Jessica Zweig a few months ago. I mentioned I'm writing this book and I'm thinking a lot about like my personal brand and my brand as an author. And I just really appreciate like her direct way of saying like, here's how you can think about personal branding. And it walks you through this whole process that's been so helpful for me. And it's also helped me uncover my gifts. In a related vein, the book Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte, those two together are a really good way for you to actually, I'm going to throw in one more, and We Should All Be Millionaires. So, Be by Jessica Zweig, Firestarter Sessions by Danielle Laporte, and We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. That was kind of my trifecta last year that helps me really hone in on what is my zone of genius? What am I amazing out at as a founder? How can I get people to support me in the things I'm not good at or the things I'm not excited about? And yeah, just really own my expertise and my value. So those three books I recommend. And they're all by women who aren't telling you stuff that's like, wait, you don't understand what I'm going through. You feel very seen as you read them.
Okay, that's an amazing, amazing recommendation. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Taylor. It was amazing to learn all about what you're building and in a workout.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, did you guys love that? If you did, please drop us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you take a screenshot of that review and DM it to us on Instagram, we will send you back a link with free access to our entire on-demand library of business skills workshops. So don't sleep on that. Get on it. Take that screenshot and DM it over to us. Chat to you later.